Finally, Friday. Time for a new episode.
I can't wait. It's going to be amazing.
This is going to be the best episode yet. Oh, yeah. No.
Thank Ferric. What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. I am Dave, and you will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy than our channel. So today we will be breaking down and reviewing The Mandalorian Season 2, Chapter 14, The Tragedy.
Hello, everybody. I'm Doug, and remember to hit that like and subscribe button if you like what you see. Be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos, and also make sure that you share it with all your friends.
And I'm Keith. Today we are having our first contest/giveaway. Yes, later in this video, we will reveal which of our subscribers won a year's subscription to Disney Plus on us. But first, we break it down.
Here we go.
All right, so as Dave said, we are breaking down The Tragedy, and you'll see why we had a bit of a look of horror on our face if you hadn't already seen the episode. Oh, by the way, full of spoilers, heads up, that's what we're doing here, in case you were unaware. If you don't want to be spoiled, go back, go watch the episode, come back, watch us later. But anyway, The Tragedy, we were under the assumption, and I think a lot of other people who watch The Mandalorian and, break it down, review it and everything, everybody kind of thought that we were going to spend a lot more time on Tython, or at least like getting to it or traveling, or this was going to be a bit of a road trip episode or something like that. But no, we kind of got there really quick. And yeah, so I mean, one of my initial takeaways, and we'll be talking a little bit more about, like the directorial view of all of this a little bit later on, but my initial takeaway was going from the previous episode of the Jedi, where we've got that amazing backdrop, we've got, the moon and the red sky and the trees, and it looks very much like a samurai film or something like that. And then we kind of go to your run-of-the-mill, probably filmed on a California landscape or something, rolling hills, sort of green grass, whatever. I guess I personally expected more, but that's not the main the main takeaway of this episode. So not a huge deal breaker for me, but just, my initial thought on it.
And honestly, after the adrenaline rush of Chapter 13 with Ahsoka Tano, I think I even said in the video, I was not expecting them to get to Tython in this episode. I thought it'd be another side quest, they would delay Mando and Grogu, but dank Ferric, am I glad to be wrong.
Yeah, and this is a shorter episode, so there's not a whole lot of background into other stories, but just enough. Like the actual tragedy, I don't think what they're referring to actually happened till the end of the show. A lot of action in this show. Great show for Boba Fett.
Yeah, Dave, I couldn't agree more. This episode did more to cement Boba Fett's lethal reputation than any of the movies, all of the movies combined, and still managed to find some time to find some official, backstory for Boba and Jango Fett, establishing Jango as a Mandalorian foundling, just like Dune, one who even fought in the Mandalorian Civil Wars. And the one thing, someone broke down what that writing from Boba's armor actually said, and it actually says his mentor was Jaster Muriel, which is going way back to Legends when Jango was also an actual Mandalorian, and this was his sort of master. So I thought it was great that they once again are bringing stuff back from Legends and making it canon. I mean, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau do a great job about fan service. We've talked about it many times, and just another example of that.
Going back to what Dave said and what Keith is implying there, this was a very Boba Fett-centric episode, and it was really awesome. It was really amazing. And yeah, Keith is absolutely right. This really cemented that, getting, this is canon, as we've established, getting pooped out the other end of the planet of Tatooine from the Sarlacc, obviously, really toughened him up. And I think that really established like a lot of the things that we've read about in some of the Star Wars encyclopedia, some of the things that have been in Legends, and even some things that have been in some of the the canon comics and the post Disney books and everything. They've always said, how Boba Fett is the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy. And even we were talking about this prior to recording tonight, how Darth Vader himself even kind of let Boba Fett give him a little bit of lip and didn't even argue back with him or anything like that. So he's always been established as like this ultimate badass. And then when we got to the Return of the Jedi and blind Han Solo knocks him into the Sarlacc by backing into his jetpack, and he went out like a little punk. I mean, it wasn't a fitting ending for him. So I'm glad that they brought him back. And second, I'm glad that they made him like an awesome and very lethal fighter. And the fact that he was using fighting that he had obviously picked up from the Tusken Raiders, just amazing.
Speaking of predictions, we got that one right last season when we said Boba Fett was the one who rescued Fennec. And I'm sure many other channels predicted it, but we were first. You can look that up. He also carries a weapon. His rifle that he uses is a sand person rifle. He also carries a gaffy stick, which obviously he uses to just destroy all the stormtroopers. And he got this, we assume, and they haven't actually gone over it, but that he kept from the Sand People after they nursed him back to health. And he says a few things in this movie that like kind of draw you back to other movies. And this wasn't a movie, it was an episode. His line, "I'm just a simple man trying to make my way through the galaxy," is something that Jango said to Obi-Wan back when they met on Kamino in Attack of the Clones. And then he follows it up with the next line that's like my father before me, which is also a drawback to Luke speaking to the Emperor about Darth Vader, about how he was a Jedi just like his father before him.
And not to forget about other members of the team, the party. We have, of course, Grogu. He makes an appearance, and I just want to point out, kind of going back to the beginning, we didn't really bring this up before because we were talking about getting to Tython, which that did happen pretty quick. I do want to say that little scene, that opening scene of them in the ship as they're preparing to navigate to Tython, that was perfect. That was perfection. It was epically cute. It's exactly, Disney does this very well. And I kind of need to see what's going to happen eventually when they just pit Grogu against baby Groot or teenage Groot or whatever. Like, who's going to win out on the cuteness battle? Because the fact that you can have this vicious, monstrous, egg-eating Force user who could clearly flip to the dark side like that, the fact that you can make him so cute to use the Force and get a little, shiny shiny toy, I think that was perfect. But one other thing that I want to point out, and I'll touch on it quick because I don't think it's as big of a deal as some people make it. So by the time that we're recording this, there's already been, as the internet does, a lot of controversy about this episode. And one of the first things that I've heard brought up tons of times was this idea of where Tython was located. The fact that all of the books, all of the canon comics, I mentioned that it's an inner core world and it's very difficult to get to. Okay. I get that. I understand that. I guess I expected, again, this to be more of a road trip episode and that it was going to take a while to get to Tython. I'm fine that it didn't. I'm okay. I'm like Keith. I'm okay with the fact that it didn't really take an entire episode just to get to this planet. And I'm not an expert at Star Wars nav computers, so I mean, I'm not going to say for sure that I know exactly where they placed the planet on the map, but it didn't sound like or appear that this was like an outer rim planet. And the line that we hear mentioned later on where oh well, I thought that the New Republic had control of the outer rim. I don't think that's implying that Tython is in the Outer Rim. I think that was just another way of stating that, look, the Empire shouldn't be here because the New Republic is reaching all the way out to the Outer Rim. This has been, let's see, the war should have ended with the Empire several years before. And the fact that there are still Imperial forces showing up, I think that's the whole surprising thing. So yeah, I'm not overly concerned. I don't think the canon has been broken about where Tython is located. And even if it has been tweaked or broken or whatever, I mean, that's such a minor thing at this point, considering everything else that we got out of this episode.
One of the things we heard about these last 3 episodes is what a roller coaster it's going to be. And I think we really kind of got a taste for that this episode. You get the playful back and forth between Din and Grogu at the beginning. And then you see that title card, which we kind of played on a little earlier with it being the tragedy. So, something bad's going to happen. Then you get that big, Boba Fett back in his armor reveal, followed by, spoiler alert, once again, Grogu getting taken by the Dark Troopers back to Moff Gideon. I mean, I think they did a great job of building things up and then dropping you off and then kind of building you back up again, which, I think Robert Rodriguez was such a great choice for this episode because he is just incredible with action scenes. And I thought everything he did in this between, Fennec, the way she fought, Boba, the way he fought before and after he got his armor back. I mean, it was different fighting styles. And it was just great to see. And seeing Mando showing off, his weapons and his attack. It was so great seeing him just take out all those stormtroopers. But one of the things I did like about this episode too, when Grogu had the Force thing calling out to whoever's going to show up at some point, Luke Skywalker, Cal, whoever it's going to be, Mara Jade, we'll find out at some point. I love the fact that he was trying to get into it. I was expecting him to just use his, force of will and get inside and grab Grogu, but he didn't. And then he was finally, after 3 times, I guess he's not the smartest Mandalorian out there, but he finally was like, okay, I'm going to protect you. And he went and he got a new plan and decided, I've got to now fight these guys off to keep Grogu safe until we can get out of here. And I just thought that was incredibly well done.
The thing about keeping him safe, though, after he tried 3 times to get in there and get him out, and he couldn't, was that earlier in the episode when he ran into Boba, Boba had made sure that he took off his jetpack. And that, to me, that goes back to what Bo-Katan said about that a Mandalorian with a jetpack is a dangerous weapon. With his jetpack, he might have been able to get up in the air and take out Fennec before they even line up her shot. So Boba knows this from experience with his own jetpack. And he knows he can't possibly stop Fennec and Boba at the same time without the pack. But what happened, when it all went down, he could have flown up to the Seeing Stone and got Grogu himself. I'm thinking there was just too much confusion. There was no way he could get back to his pack and get onto him in time. But he can control that jetpack on his wrist. So maybe he just forgot about the damage. I don't know why he did. What do you guys think?
Well, as far as the story goes, I really don't know. I don't know if there's an actual good answer for it, but I mean, as far as the whole episode goes and the, with the director choices, the writing choices, honestly, I think it was just so the episode could happen. I mean, if you give him his jetpack and his whistling birds and his, and I think that's probably the reason why he doesn't really carry around his rifle as much anymore. You mostly just see him with his laser pistol because I think he's just too powerful with a disintegrating rifle. So I think it's just to sort of nerf him a little bit, make it so that way a tragedy can actually happen. Because otherwise, he probably would have been able to, take out maybe those dark troopers, or at the very least, get to the child before they got to him or something.
Yeah, I think it was more like that. In the moment, he just started running towards, Grogu. Didn't think, well, what are my options here? I could get my jetpack. I could do it. And I think it was, a little of both. He was, it was written that it was in the moment. He had to get up there as quickly as he could. Didn't think things through. And quite honestly, Doug's right. If he would have had his jetpack and his whistling birds, we wouldn't have had the tragedy, and we would have been waiting on Tython still to see which Jedi showed up. So I think it adds to this roller coaster in the next 3 episodes, and I think it's building to something to end season 2 that we're going to be just absolutely, have our socks completely blown off our feet, and then they're going to sell us some socks.
So Keith and Dave brought up both Fennec Shand. So we got to see her come back. And, we had briefly mentioned this, and Dave was right. We were the first channel ever to even mention the fact that Boba Fett definitely saved her, brought her back to life, and that she would come back. But can I just say how amazing it was to see Ming-Na Wen appear back in an episode and have her back in The Mandalorian? Incredible actress. And I love the idea that they brought her back using cybernetics, because we already know that that's an established thing in Star Wars lore. We've seen them give Luke a new hand. We saw them bring Darth Vader back to life with arms and legs and whatever else using cybernetics. So I mean, it's definitely within the reality of this world. So I thought it was really cool, and I was glad to see her back.
And I also love that even though they're bounty hunters or mercenaries, it was nice that they went out of their way to emphasize that they both are ultimately very honorable. And even if it comes at the expense of their own safety, which goes back to something that Filoni explored with a young Boba Fett way back in the Clone Wars. And if you want, go back and watch the final 3 episodes of season 2. At one point, Hondo tells him, he encourages him, he goes, to act honorably because it is what your father would have done. And it's nice to see that kind of stuck with Boba, and he is who he is, because honestly, a bounty hunter whose word you can't trust isn't going to make any money. So he knows ultimately he's got to stick to his word. And it's going to be great seeing these 3 team up again in the next couple episodes.
So as we see the tragedy unfold, we see Grogu get taken away by the Dark Troopers, which I kind of wish that we had had a little bit more screen time with them, because again, sort of like Tython, I guess I built it up in my own head. I thought that this was going to be an amazing planet with a lot of obstacles, and it's going to be very difficult to get to. And then I thought, oh, the Dark Troopers are supposed to appear, and these are going to be a really formidable force. But they kind of just jetpack down, grab Grogu, and then jetpack away. And I was like, oh, all right. So hopefully we do get to see more of them later on. I would definitely like to see Din Djarin and his friends kind of go up against them. I think that'll be kind of a fun little battle to see how the Mandalorian displays them outside of the way that they appeared in the video games. But after all of that is said and done, and we see Grogu taken, that's not the end of the tragedy. It gets worse. We see that poor ship. It has gone through so much this entire season. We see it blown to smithereens, and Din Djarin just loses everything that was inside of it except for the spear. And I don't even know what I was more upset about, the fact that Grogu was kidnapped, or that ship that has just been damaged and shot at and put back together with God knows what on the Mon Calamari planet, that the fact that it was just blown up after just getting repaired, man.
Not only did the spear get rescued, but also the little ball for the gear shift. And I have a theory, dun dun dun, that we're going to see that become part of Grogu's lightsaber when he does become a Jedi or a Grey Jedi or whatever it is. So remember, you heard it here first. Once again, when it's right, not your status quo, always spot on with our theory paloozas.
I hadn't thought about that. That's actually a great theory, Keith. Excellent. I really hope that is the case. Also, now that you mentioned the fact that survived as well, I wonder if certain parts of the ship, including the little ball, which obviously had to survive. I guess I forgot about that. I wonder if that's made out of Beskar as well, because I assume that's why the spear survived. The fact that Beskar can repel blaster fire, which I assume is some kind of a plasma, and lightsabers, and apparently it kind of meshes with the that force or whatever was going on with Grogu when he was trying to reach out to whoever, maybe space whales or something. But yeah, the fact that it repels that as well, it makes me wonder. I wonder if the little silver ball was made out of Beskar. I wonder if Grogu is going to have a Beskar lightsaber. Ooh, and the armor will make it for him.
And Doug mentioning the space whales that took Thrawn and Ezra out in hyperspace at the end of the Rebels, I believe he is also saying that Ezra will be the one that answers the call with his whales to Grogu's call from the Seeing Stone. So once again, you heard it here first. Ezra showing up, episode or chapter 16 of The Mandalorian season 2. Mark that, write it down, people.
And that's not it. if you thought that the action in this episode was over, now we go to Moff Gideon's ship as it's traveling through hyperspace. And we get to see what I think is, again, another combination of like both an epic scene, but also kind of sad in a way because poor Grogu. I mean, come on. They've got him, locked up in a prison, but very kindly of Moff Gideon, he gave him 2 stormtroopers to play with, which Grogu is gleefully just force choking and tossing around like they're rag dolls. And I kind of misspoke in an earlier episode when I said that, this might mean that Grogu is leaning towards the dark side. After rewatching Return of the Jedi, I kind of forgot that Luke did that too. So I guess that's not necessarily a dark side move. I mean, it could be, but I don't know. I suppose it could be used for good.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Grogu using his talents, if you will. Maybe he was trying to escape, or maybe he was just, he knew he couldn't get out, and he's punishing the people who brought him there. But people forget he's 50 years old. Maybe he's a lot smarter than he can convey through language, or maybe he is just really a kid who's just dealing with his emotions and tearing up stormtroopers.
And let us just have one more prediction here, at least one more prediction before we go. The stormtrooper that stunned Grogu, yeah, he's in for a very bad experience in the next couple episodes. Mark it down, Theory Palooza. Stunning stormtrooper is going to get his ass whipped, something fierce by someone. We're not sure who yet. We'll let you know later. But, the one thing we also saw is, Moff Gideon was very calm while this was going on because he obviously has a history with Grogu, because he knew after exerting all this energy, he was going to fall asleep. So he knew. I don't know if this is hinting that Moff Gideon was somehow part of getting him out of the temple before Order 66, or just had some time with him, the dark times that he couldn't remember in his history. But I definitely think it's showing that Moff Gideon has a lot of history with Grogu.
And I really especially liked that scene where he actually brings out the Darksaber and just kind of shows it off to him. I was a little confused by the line that he said, "You're not ready for this yet." Does that mean that he's not just going to use him as like to drain the blood out of and use his high M count? Does he maybe have different plans since the cloning didn't go over so well? Or it kind of makes me wonder if now maybe his new plan is, hey, if the cloning doesn't work out, maybe we can turn him into a dark force user or something on our side. So I don't know. I was a little curious where he was going with that.
I think it's a little of both, because for one, he calls him the donor in this episode. He goes, as soon as we drop out of hyperspace, call the doctor and let him know that we have our donor back. And when I first heard it, I thought he said daughter. And I was like, wait, what? And I had to rewind it and turned on closed caption to find out he said donor. But I do think him showing them the Darksaber is exactly what Doug said. Not only are they using his blood to get these clones out, but they have plans for him well beyond that, which is including an apprentice on the dark side of some kind, whether it's to Moff Gideon if he's force sensitive, or if they're working for the Emperor, or if crazy Ezra is back from his whale excursion and he's going to be kind of leading this charge. But it does look like they have plans for him outside of him just being a donor for their force sensitive clones.
Keith, please promise me that we're going to get crazy force whale Ezra in this series. I need that in my life.
And what about Grand Admiral Thrawn? I have a theory of my own that he is the one pulling the strings from up above Moff Gideon, and maybe he's keeping whatever remnants of the Empire together. And we all know that sometime between now in the show and the Rise of Skywalker, that the Emperor gets back, and before the Force Awakens, Thrawn has to be gone as well. So maybe he's in charge. Maybe there's some sort of battle between him and Snoke. Who knows? But just a tiny little theory I'm throwing out there.
That could be. It could be that Thrawn is pulling the strings. I'd like to think that Moff Gideon is kind of like his own dude, and he's definitely trying to become the new emperor, or sort of keep the Empire alive himself. I haven't quite decided yet, but that's not a bad theory that Thrawn might be the one pulling the strings. But I wouldn't be surprised if since we all know that, Palpatine is still alive and kicking, spoilers, sorry. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to do like a reverse force life thing. And instead of, healing somebody, maybe he's keeping himself alive by draining his cronies of their life or something.
I like Dave's theory. I do think Grand Admiral Thrawn could be pulling the strings. He's kind of leading Moff Gideon at Emperor Palpatine's request. And the reason we don't see him during The Force Awakens and all this other stuff is because he's pulling back. They set the First Order out there to cause chaos and keep the prying eyes off of them and what they're doing on Exegol and getting all the ships ready. And then post Rise of Skywalker, if we do see another trilogy of movies within that time frame, we could see Grand Admiral Thrawn after the death of the Emperor in Rise of Skywalker, please stay dead. We could see him taking the mantle and leading what's left of the Empire in a last-ditch effort to take back the galaxy. I think that would be amazing.
Episode 10, The Dead Speak Again. Palpatine has returned again. Don't tempt them, Keith. They're going to do it. But no, in order to wrap all of this up, so this has, it was a bit of a shorter episode, but again, things kind of wrap up. Now, Boba Fett and Fennec Shand are sort of, they've made themselves indebted to Din Djarin. In my opinion, they didn't really have to, but again, they're morally good. They're honorable. They're sticking to the agreements that they had made. And so, yeah, they have agreed to go with Din Djarin, give him a ride back to wherever he needs, and work with him to get the child back. In fact, Boba Fett even says, I'll stick with you until I ensure the safety of the child, get him back to you safely. So I think we're going to see them obviously in the next couple of episodes. I think this is going to be like the end of season 1 where we, see this team up. He's got to gather up his group. And we end up going back to Navarro. We find out that Cara Dune has gone legit, as Din Djarin puts it. And she is now working for the New Republic, which I was a little surprised at. I did not think she would actually do that. I didn't expect to, see her agree to do it. I figured she was for sure going to, kind of keep doing her own thing, stay in the Marshal, but hey, I guess it legitimizes Navarro. So that's cool. But we see that, again, Din Djarin is trying to put together a crew, and he's going to do what he needs to do to get Grogu back, including looking up an individual that we last saw in season 1.
And that person that Doug is talking about is Mayfeld, played by the wonderful Bill Burr, who I was a little skeptical on why they needed him, but we were talking about it before this episode. Dave and Doug both brought up, well, he is a former Imperial officer, and he may have some inside knowledge of where they go or where their main base is or anything to kind of get them closer. Because obviously they took off in hyperspace and have no idea where they went, and they need to find him as quickly as possible because they need to rescue Grogu. And that's hard to say, rescue Grogu. Say that 5 times for me, people. See, it's not so easy. Okay, but, I do think it's, a really good ending to this episode. It kind of gives us things that we're going to see in the next couple episodes. And we only got 2 episodes left this season, and I think it's going to be as action-packed and as much of a roller coaster as we got in Chapter 14.
He's an Imperial sharpshooter. He wasn't a stormtrooper, wise ass.
Somehow, The Mandalorian managed to deliver an episode even more action-packed, mythology heavy, and emotionally stirring than the Jedi with Chapter 14. Shining the spotlight on Boba Fett in a way that fans of the character have likely been dreaming of for decades. Confidently directed with spectacular eye for action by Robert Rodriguez. I think the tragedy, like I said before, sets up a high-stakes endgame for season 2 that I certainly can't wait to see unfold. And with that, I'm going to give this episode a 9.4 out of 10. I really just think it was spectacular. For only being like 32 minutes with credits and everything else, it seemed to have a lot of story and a lot of things happen in it. And it went by fast. It was just absolutely amazing. The score was phenomenal. The cinematography was well done. Everything they did, all of the fan service that was in there was extremely well executed, like they always do.
Yeah. So like I had mentioned before, there is a little bit of controversy surrounding this episode. personally speaking, I liked it for the most part. But as to my review, now generally when I do this, I review things based on a couple of different things. I just don't, explain all the math that goes on into what determines my overall points that I give an episode, but I'll base it on the story, on the direction, on the writing, a number of different things. And ultimately what I start with is how the idea worked out, the idea that they are going with for that episode or for the movie or whatever it is that we're reviewing. For instance, a good example might be the overall idea that they were trying to illustrate for something was good, but maybe I'm going to give it a lower points because it just wasn't executed very well. And so I kind of did that a little bit with this episode as well. It had a great idea. I loved the idea that they started it off kind of fun, but then they told us, oh, but hold on, there's going to be a tragedy. So points for that right out the gate. That was, a good sort of, what do we have to look forward to? I was slightly disappointed-ish, very minor thing, the fact that we didn't get a little bit more to Tython, that the backdrop, that the scenery wasn't anything special. I guess I expected a little bit more. I did like the sort of Stonehenge-ish look of the Seeing Stone. I thought that was nice. But other than that, I guess after coming off the heels of the last episode where we had a really cool scenery and a really cool village, I guess I just expected it to look a little bit nicer. But we did get an amazing, backstory edition, more about Boba Fett. We got to see Fennec Shand again, and we even got to see, stormtroopers getting their armor busted, their helmets bashed and stabbed and just totally obliterated by Fennec Shand and Boba Fett. I mean, honestly, Din Djarin barely did anything in this episode, so this was definitely like a Boba Fett centric episode, and that was really cool. And we forgot to mention this earlier, but there was also a nice little rolling stone that crushed a couple of stormtroopers that Fennec Shand pushed off the cliff. That was hilarious and awesome. And I've heard a lot of people saying that was a nod to Indiana Jones, so that's cool. If that's what if that was on purpose and that's what they're going for, hey, that's really awesome. I'm going to, because of the overall execution of this episode, I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8.5 out of 10 because it was good. I just think that certain things could have been tweaked to make it better. I think that the scenery could have been better. I disagree with the overall sentiment that's been going around on the internet that this looks like a fan film. I disagree with that. It was shot too well for it to be a fan film. The editing was too tight and the sound was too good for this to be a fan film. I think you guys are being too mean and you don't understand what goes into making an expensive production like this. It was a good episode. It just could have been better, especially the way that they had kind of built up the ideas that were going to be present in this episode. So yeah, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Boba Fett back, and we actually get to see the badass side of Boba Fett. We found out that both Din and Jango, his father, were foundlings. That's why he has the armor and it belongs to him. Yes, I do believe the boulder rolling downhill is a nod to Raiders of the Lost Ark, another Lucasfilm production. And I thought they did a great job with that. Cara Dune, who isn't a joiner, joins the New Republic. I did not see the Razor Crest getting blown to bits. That was amazing. And now that Boba and Din and Fennec are all together, I mean, look out universe. They obviously can take down 2 shuttles full of stormtroopers. That's just the 3 of them. They're amazing. So with everything that, like we said, it was a short show, but it packed a lot into there. So I'm with Doug. I'm giving this an 8.5.
And now the moment 2 people have been waiting for. We are going to draw our winner of 1-year subscription to Disney Plus. I have both names, Brainiac Baseball and Darth Williams, who had comments on our last video on what they liked best about The Mandalorian. And I'm going to throw it into our Not Your Status Quo hat, which you can find a link to our shop down in the comments below. Order your own fun Not Your Status Quo stuff. I have a hat. I have a hoodie on right now. But I'm going to throw these names in there and shuffle it out over there. And I'm going to pull one out. And let's see who we got. And our winner of a year of Disney Plus is Brainiac Baseball. Thank you, Brainiac Baseball, for watching and commenting on our videos. Please send us a message where we can send this, and we will get you your year of Disney Plus. And for those of you watching that did not enter this competition, please subscribe to our channel and be ready, so you'll be ready the next time we have one of these awesome giveaways. But thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time on Not Your Status Quo.